Hello, this is a short video presentation where I am going to fill out the worksheet that you guys did today. So you'll see my version of it with my commentary. Alright, solve by completing the square. First thing we want to do is add 7 to both sides of the equation. So we get x squared plus 6x, and I'm going to leave a space here, equals 7. And I'm drawing this line because I'm going to add something to both sides. Now, I want to take this number here, this 6, and I'm going to circle it. And I'm going to draw down here and go 6 divided by 2, and I'm going to square it. I will always take this number and divide it by 2, and then I'm going to square it. That is going to equal 3 squared, which is 9. That 9 goes here, and it goes there. So continuing, I have plus 9, or x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 16. This is a perfect square trinomial. It will always be a perfect square trinomial when we do this. So we have x, and the square root of 9 is 3. So we have plus 3. Now what I want to do is take the square root of both sides. So I have the square root, and I have plus or minus the square root. Strongly encourage you to always put that plus minus. You're going to lose points if you don't. All right, now we have x plus 3 equals plus or minus 4. We now then write our two equations. X plus 3 equals 4. X plus 3 equals negative 4. Subtract 3. Subtract 3. And I get x equals 1. And I get x equals negative 7. We have our solution 1, negative 7. All right. Real quickly, we'll do this one. We add 9 to both sides, and we get x squared minus 8x plus something equals 9 plus something. Half of 8 is 4. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Squared is 16. We have 16 and 16. We then factor this, and the square root of 16 is 4. So we have a 4 here because it's a perfect square trinomial. And because this is negative, we have to have, whoops, lost my pen. We have to have a minus there. We then take the square root, plus or minus the square root, and we get x minus 4 equals plus or minus 5. Our two equations, x minus 4 equals 5, and x minus 4 equals negative 5. Add 4, we get x equals 9. Add 4, we get x equals negative 1. 9 and negative 1. All right, this is fine and dandy because the leading coefficient is 1. What happens when it's not 1? That's what the second page was all about. We divide everything by the leading coefficient. That's the leading coefficient. And we get x squared plus 3x minus 10. And then we just repeat the process of the preceding page. The problem is, often, let's do this one, we're going to end up with fractions. X squared plus 3 halves x minus 9 halves equals 0. Now just like before, we're going to add our 9 halves. We're going to add this constant to both sides. And we get x squared plus 3 halves x plus something equals 9 halves plus something. It's always going to be this way. It's always going to be plus, because when we take half of this number and square it, it's always going to be a positive number. 3 halves, if I take half of it, that means I multiply by 1/2. And I do it off on the side. I always do it underneath. And I square it, which gives me 3/4. We multiply across, and we square, which is where this is. And it gives me 9/16. So I write 9/16 plus 9/16. Kind of hard to read there. Change the color. So 9/16. All right. That is where I am right here. All right. X squared plus 3 halves plus 9/16. 9 halves plus 9/16. All we did is we took half of this number right there and squared it. Put it to both sides. Notice this didn't change at all. Not at all. All right, now we factor. Question is, how do we get 9/16? We multiplied 3/4 times 3/4, so 3/4 is what gets used right here. Now to add these together, we need a common denominator. 9 halves. We multiply the top and the bottom by 8, or x plus 3/4 squared equals 72/16 plus 9/16, or finally, and we're running out of space, x plus 3/4 squared equals 81/16, which is where we are right here. We then square root both sides. And again, don't forget the plus minus. And we get x plus 3/4. And we do not need my parenthesis there. So we get x plus 3/4 equals plus or minus square root of 81 is 9, square root of 16 is 4. And then we have x plus 3/4 equals 9/4, and x plus 3/4 equals negative 9/4. Solve these two equations and we get the answer right here. All right, I hope that helps and have a great day.